Happy Sunday. Welcome back to Literary Archaeology. We are still digging our way through Grimm Brothers fairy tales from 1812 and 1815. We are almost finished, which is amazing. And it's been quite the journey. It has only whetted our appetites for more. And of course, there's Hans Christian Andersen afterwards. There's so much that has been hidden from us. And I bet a lot of you did not realize, like I didn't, that these things are hidden in the fairy tales. You will look up online and find out how racist, sexist, all the ists, isms, obias, that these Grimm fairy tales are that. That's what the internet will try to tell you. Because of course. So this next fairy tale that we're going to read today, speaking of that, is The White Bride and the Black Bride. Now, I have no idea what that means. It doesn't mean it's literal. We're going to find out together. So without further ado, here we go. Trying to get Lola some screen time over there. I know it's been demanded. She is the producer, director, main star. The White Bride and the Black Bride. A woman was walking with her daughter and stepdaughter over the fields to cut fodder when the dear Lord came toward them in the guise of a poor man and asked, "Which is the way to the village?" "Oh," said the mother, "look for the way yourself." And her daughter added, "If you're worried about not finding it, then take a signpost with you." Rude. And if you were reading this to children, that was done, obviously, to reinforce biblical truths, manners, morals, ethics, all those things. You would stop and say, was that nice? Was that right? Because it's important to read the stories of what not to do and how not to be. So you can teach the next generations that and why that's important. You don't see that in any of the stories, cartoons, anything like that. You really don't see that. You see bad behavior as cute, funny. That is highly detrimental. We first started seeing it, I think, in sitcoms, with little kids acting bratty, and isn't that cute? Fairy tales disagree. However, the stepdaughter said, "Poor man, I'll show you the way. Come with me." Since the mother and daughter had infuriated the dear Lord, he turned his back on them and cursed them so that they became black as night and ugly as sin. But God was gracious to the poor stepdaughter and went with her to the village. When they drew close to the village, he blessed her and said, "Choose 3 things for yourself, and I'll grant them to you." The maiden said, "I'd like to be as beautiful and pure as the sun." And in no time, she was as white and beautiful as the day. There's a lot of talk nowadays, thankfully, about purity and how important that is, and that it's something that a woman should, strive to maintain. For a lot of women, young women especially, this is something they're kind of learning for the first time, that it's a desired trait and that it should be protected and cherished. Yeah, fairy tales aren't what they told us they were. Okay. And also the other thing in fairy tales is that beauty and goodness go hand in hand. We have not read a fairy tale yet where there was a beautiful person who was highly sinful and unrepentant, and we have not met the other way around. For example, in Cinderella, the stepsisters were actually, pretty on the outside, but considered ugly because of their character. And that is a huge theme in the fairy tales. We don't see that nowadays either. Then I'd like to have a money purse that is never empty, And the dear Lord gave her that as well, but said, "Don't forget the best thing of all." And she replied, "For my third wish, I want to live in the eternal kingdom of heaven after my death." This wish was also granted, and then the Lord separated from her. When the stepmother arrived home with her daughter and discovered that they were both as black as coal and ugly, while the stepdaughter was white and beautiful. YouTube, this is not meant to be literal. This is all figurative. It's a fairy tale, YouTube. Sometimes I think the robots understand me. I don't know. Her heart turned so the stepmother's heart turned even more evil, and she could think of nothing but how she might harm her stepdaughter. However, the stepdaughter had a brother named Reginer, whom she loved very much, and she told him everything that had happened. One day, I'm just going to say Reginer said to her, "Dear sister, I want to paint your picture so that I may always see you before my eyes. My love for you is so great that I want to see you constantly." "All right," she said, "but I beg of you not to let anyone else see the picture." So he painted a portrait of his sister and hung it in his room, which was in the royal castle, because he served the king as coachman. Every day, he stood in front of the portrait and thanked God for his dear sister's good fortune. I bet that sounds foreign to you, because we don't hold family in the regard that we used to. I'm just holding back a rant about that. Now it happened that the king's wife had just died, and she had been so beautiful that the king was greatly distressed because her equal couldn't be found anywhere. The court servants had noticed, however, that the coachman stood in front of a beautiful portrait every day, and since they envied him, they reported it to the king. Who ordered the portrait to be brought to him? Oh, the king ordered, that wasn't a question, sorry. The king ordered the portrait to be brought to him. When he saw how the portrait resembled his wife in each and every way and was even more beautiful, he fell desperately in love with it. Consequently, he summoned the coachman and asked him whose portrait it was. The coachman said that it was his sister, and the king decided to marry no other woman but her. So he gave the coachman a carriage and horses and magnificent golden clothes and sent him to fetch his chosen bride. Never mind, I'm going to change his name back to Reginer, because like Reggie. It's Reginer. When Reginer arrived with the news, his sister rejoiced, but the black maiden was jealous of her good fortune and became terribly annoyed. "What's the good of all your clever and artful ways," she said to her mother, "if you can't bring about such good luck for me?" "Be quiet," said the old woman. "I'll soon make things turn your way." Of course, she's going to be a witch. Witchometer is going off. There's always a witch. It's whenever somebody pointed this out in the last chat. Somebody said, "Why does it always seem to be a single woman? Like an old single woman without a husband." It's like, generally speaking, in these fairy tales, she's going to be a witch. I don't know what to make of that other than look around in modern day and how popular astrology is and tarot cards and all the rest of it. Put that together with Rachel Wilson's book, Occult Feminism, and you kind of understand where the Grimm brothers were coming from and what they were trying to prevent from happening to their culture. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough. So she said, I'll soon make things turn your way. And through her witchcraft, she clouded the eyes of the coachman so that he became half blind, and she stopped up the ears of the white maiden so that she became half deaf. After this had been done, they climbed into the carriage, first the bride in her splendid royal garments. Then the stepmother with her daughter, while Reginer sat on the box to drive. When they had gone some distance, the coachman cried out, "Cover yourself, my sister dear. Don't let the rain get you too wet. Don't let the wind blow dust on you. Take care, for you must look your very best when you appear at your king's request." The bride asked, "What's my dear brother saying?" "Ah," replied the old woman, "he said you should take off your golden dress and give it to your sister." Then she took it off and put it on her sister, who gave her a shabby gray gown in return. They continued on their way, and after a while, the brother called out again, "Cover yourself, my sister dear. Don't let the rain get you too wet. Don't let the wind blow dust on you. Take care, for you must look your very best when you appear at your king's request." The bride asked, "What's my dear brother saying?" "Ah," replied the old woman, "he said you should take off your golden bonnet and give it to your sister." Evil woman. Then she took off the bonnet, put it on the black maiden, and sat with her hair uncovered. They continued on their way, and after a while her brother called out once more, "Cover yourself, my sister dear. Don't let the rain get you too wet. Don't let the wind blow dust on you. Take care, for you must look your very best when you appear at your king's request." The bride asked, "What's my brother saying?" "Ah," replied the old woman, "he said you should take a look out of the carriage." Just then, they happened to be crossing a bridge, over a deep river. When the bride stood up and leaned out the window of the carriage, the other two pushed her out, and she fell into the middle of the water. At the very instant, at the very instant that she sank out of sight, a snow-white duck arose out of the smooth, glittering water and swam down the river. Since the brother hadn't noticed a thing, he kept driving until they reached the court. Then he brought the black maiden to the king as his sister and really thought it was her because his eyes were so clouded and he could only go by the glimmer of the golden dress. When the king saw how abysmally ugly his intended bride was, that's right, because he's only seen the portrait. Abysmally ugly his intended bride was, he became furious and ordered the coachman to be thrown into a pit full of adders and snakes. Meanwhile, the old witch knew how to charm the king and deceive him through witchcraft, so that he allowed her and her daughter to stay. Indeed, the daughter gradually appeared quite nice to him, and thus he actually married her. Witches, evil stepmothers, man. Evil stepmothers. It's a huge theme in fairy tales, and it's not just for entertainment's sake. It's a warning. And I bet that in your life, some of you can be like, yeah, wish I'd had that warning. If for some reason, it's a thing. It's jealousy comes into play. I was going to say something else, but it's mostly jealousy. And then after jealousy comes revenge in some way. It's a very common theme. Okay, so he actually married her. One evening, while the black bride was sitting on the king's lap, a white duck swam up the drain to the kitchen and said to the kitchen boy, "Light a fire, little boy. Make it quick. I need some warmth and can't get sick. Okay. The kitchen boy did as he was asked and lit a fire on the hearth. Then the duck came and sat down next to the fire, shook herself, and cleaned her feathers with her beak. While she sat there and made herself comfortable, she asked, "What's my brother Reginald doing?" The kitchen boy answered, "With snakes and adders in a pit. That's where he's been forced to sit." Then she asked, "What's the black witch doing in the house?" The kitchen boy answered, "She's nice and warm, so very warm, for the king has got her in his arms." The duck said, "God have mercy," and swam back down the drain. You'll also notice, if this is your first time with us, us being myself and the chat, there are a lot of references to God. And any of the fairy tales that you think you know, Cinderella, Snow White, etc., there's always an element of the Christian God, always, because that was just understood. It was understood. It was like, of course we all believe this. There weren't just like atheists walking around, It's not like there was a Buddhist here and there. Like it was a Christian culture. And this reflected it and passed it down. Or they tried to, until publishers just started changing things. And what did they do first? They removed God. The next evening, she came again and asked the same questions, and on the third evening as well. The kitchen boy's heart couldn't bear this any longer, so he went to the king and revealed everything to him. Lola, you are right. I need to ask him. Please like this video if you're enjoying this content. I really appreciate you guys being here and supporting this channel. It's been amazing. And if you don't know my original channel, Far From Eden, check that one out too. A little bit more controversial in some similar ways. So he couldn't bear it any longer. So he went to the king and revealed everything to him. Then the king went to the kitchen on the following evening, and when the duck stuck her head out through the drain, he took his sword and cut her head off by the neck. All at once, she turned into a most beautiful maiden and looked exactly like the portrait that her brother had made of her. The king rejoiced, and since she was standing there, soaking wet, he had fine clothes brought to her, which she put on. Then she told him how she had been thrown into the river. Her first request was to have her brother taken out of the snake pit, and this was done immediately. Then the king went into the room where the old witch sat and asked, "What kind of punishment does a woman deserve if she does something like the following?" As he recalled all the past events, the black woman was so distracted that she didn't realize what was going on and said, "She deserves to be stripped naked and put into a barrel studded with nails. Ooh. Then a horse should be hitched to the barrel and sent running out into the world." This is what happened to her and her black daughter while the king married the beautiful white bride and rewarded the faithful brother by making him a rich and respected man. Purity is rewarded. Goodness is rewarded. Now, does that mean bad things don't happen to good people? Of course not. We learned that in this story, right? But evil will eat you up inside. And those are things that I would teach to children if I was reading these fairy tales to them. It's become quite clear to me what these fairy tales were for. And it's not what Disney would have us believe. But isn't that the way they do it? They just keep redoing things and redoing things. So they don't have to censor anything. They just redo them and remake them. So nobody asks any questions. Like, who are the Grimm brothers? Doesn't matter. Because anything that's old isn't as good as what's new. And I am coming to find out that's the opposite. So many things are the opposite. And I think we have time for another one. We are going to skip ahead a little bit in this book to a shorter one called The Children of Famine. Might get rough on this one. We'll see. Like I said, bad things do happen to good people. It's what you do with it and the mindset that you have. And so many times in these fairy tales, we have seen when bad things happen, how characters will pray through them or request for that to be their last thing. Like this last lady, the white bride, the third thing she requested was to spend eternity in heaven with the Lord. She could have 3 things, could be anything. Did she even know that was the Lord? Did she ever find out? I don't think she did. Put in the comments if she ever did, because she helped him find the way, and he's like, "Hey, I'll give you 3 things." Like, did she know that that was actually the Lord? That's the thing, is you wanna be good for good's sake. And it shouldn't be you shouldn't just know that from a Christmas song, "Be good for goodness sake." Like, people sing that, and they don't really know what that means. Pardon the outside noise. I didn't know that was gonna happen, but we did the fresh air today, so, welcome to my living room. One day I'll have the, soundproof whatever up, but you're in my living room right now. Yeah, so I don't know that you have to be good for goodness sake, not because you're gonna get anything, not because you're gonna impress anybody. And boy, do we have the opposite type of society today. And you'll see it, like you would think in church. It should be so different. It should be humility. It should be, not keeping up with the Joneses, not trying to show off. But man, I've seen that so often. And I can speak for Protestant churches mostly because that's where I've been. I couldn't tell you what the traditional church is, Orthodox or Catholic, what those look like. But it's just very sad because consumerism, materialism has become what all of our lives revolve around. And it starts when we're young. And it starts, interestingly enough, when is the most consumerist time of the year? Christmas, which is when it should be the least. So, the Children of Famine, speaking of the least. Once upon a time, there was a woman with 2 daughters, and they had become so poor they no longer had even a piece of bread to put in their mouths. Their hunger became so great that their mother became unhinged and desperate. Indeed, she said to her children, "I've got to kill you so I can have something to eat." "I've got to go to the clinic, otherwise I'm not going to be able to finish my college degree and it's going to wreck my whole life. I need to go to Planned Parenthood, or my whole life is derailed." It's okay. They're not people. Okay. Calm down, Aaron. Once upon a time, there was a woman with 2 daughters, and they had become so poor that they no longer had even a piece of bread to put in their mouths. Their hunger became so great that their mother became unhinged and desperate. Indeed, she said to her children, "I've got to kill you so I can have something to eat." "Oh, dear mother," said one daughter, "spare me, and I'll go out and see if I can get something without begging." So the girl went out and came back carrying a little piece of bread, which they shared with one another. But it was not enough to still their hunger. Therefore, the mother spoke to the other daughter, "Now it's your turn to die." What did I just say in the previous fairy tale about a woman, single woman with children? Well, perfect score. I'm mad. I got mad. Excuse you. You are interrupting the fairy tale, please. Notice the little girl brought the food back and shared it. She didn't run away. Okay. "Oh, dear mother," she answered, "spare me, and I'll go out and get something to eat from somewhere else without anyone noticing me." This daughter too went away and came back carrying 2 little pieces of bread. They shared it with one another, but it was not enough to still their hunger. Therefore, when a few hours had gone by, their mother said to them once more, "You've got to die, or else we'll waste away." "Dear mother," they responded, "we'll lie down and sleep, and we won't get up again until the judgment day arrives." So they lay down and fell into a deep sleep, and no one could wake them from it. Meanwhile, their mother departed, and nobody knows where she went. HE double hockey sticks? So the children sort of sacrifice themselves. I don't know. Would Planned Parenthood be a thing if this type of stuff had been read? I don't think so, because people would be taught. You need to have faith. You need to do the right thing. You don't sacrifice others for your anything. You just don't. That's wrong. It's evil. It's evil. Goodness me. All right. One more. I gotta shake this one off. Okay. This one's really short. Sometimes the short ones are quite the trip because they're like, we had a snippet, but we're going to include it. Don't forget to like the video. Subscribe to the channel. The Ungrateful Son. Once a man and his wife were sitting by the entrance to their house. They had a roasted chicken in front of them and were about to eat it when the man saw his father coming toward them. So the man quickly grabbed the chicken and hid it because he didn't want to give him away. Didn't want to give him any. The old man came, had a drink, and went away. As the son reached to put the roasted chicken back on the table, he found that it had been turned into a large toad, which then sprang onto his face, sat right on it, and wouldn't leave him. If anyone tried to take it off, the toad would look at the person viciously, as if it wanted to spring right into his face too. So nobody dared touch it, and the ungrateful son had to feed the toad every day, otherwise it would have eaten away part of his face. Thus the son wandered aimlessly all over the world, as one does when one has a toad stuck on their face. You gotta have a laugh. I think the Grimm brothers, well, the people who, made these stories up and passed them down, you kind of have to have a laugh. But yeah, he was ungrateful. He was not going to share with his own father. And that's not good. That's not right. So, you gotta have a toad on your face, I guess. That's so funny. Oh, I'm literally, we have a regular in the chat. His usual name is AA Strumming, but he's been going by Big Belly Strumming since Thanksgiving happened. He is quite the connoisseur of cake. Anyway, as I'm reading this frog story, we have an inside joke. The chat and me, if you're new, with that, hello, my darling, hello, my baby, whatever frog. So stuck on his face. So I was trying to read that without busting up laughing. We have a good time. We have a good time on literary archaeology. Oh, you guys, what a wonderful Sunday. We got to read, 3 fairy tales? All very different, but all the same, because the Grimm brothers understood that truth is truth, goodness is goodness, and only God is good. And that is what we should pursue in all things. No matter what the scenario is, no matter how crazy it is, if it's giants, if it's elves, if it's a giant toad on your face, if you're supposed to eat an entire mountain, same things are true, which helps erase the concept of moral relativity from the worldview, anybody's worldview in the culture. If you're like, no matter what it is right and wrong is wrong. You don't sacrifice others for your happiness. You think of others first. You share because it's right. And above all of it is God. That's what we see in these fairy tales. So, feeds my soul. Anyway, better feed Lola soon. It's not time at all. Just getting to be one of those old ladies that's like, we got to go to bed super early. I got to wake up super early. This morning, she woke me up at 3:30 a.m., you guys. She can do what she wants. I don't mind. It was great spending this time with you. I know there's so much out there that we are going to dig into together. And I'm looking to, figure out where my energy is going to be enough to, do more. It's just a matter of planning and scheduling and, beating back the MS beast. But don't worry, I will. So we may have a video on Far From Eden tomorrow evening, the second part of the video we had yesterday. I don't like to do a video on Far From Eden the same day as we do literary archaeology, because then it's like, we're in two places at once. Might be a bit much, at a demand of your time. So the second part will probably either air Monday night or Wednesday night. I will let you guys know on the Discord, hopefully in locals. That's another place I need to get back to. So anyway, enough housekeeping. You guys have to go out there and protect your peace, feed your souls. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.